You're watching Overreaction Monday. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and we're going to be breaking down and trying to not lose our absolute minds after watching the Raiders just get their ass absolutely kicked up and down the field up against the Carolina Panthers. And Nate Hobbs in his post-game reaction show said, we weren't focused enough on our jobs. We came out there, we did not come out there with a purpose, and we went out there thinking that we were going to have the upper hand for no reason. That is literally a Raiders player telling you that they went out there thinking that their shit didn't stink and that all they had to do was show up and get a win. Quite frankly, this was one of the most frustrating Raiders games that I have ever covered at my time here at Chat Sports. This is a team that you thought was going to be able to carry a little bit of momentum. I don't know if Josh McDaniels is still coaching this team, but this was a Josh McDaniels-led performance. It was bad from top to bottom. And coming up here, I'm going to give you the top trending stories around the silver and black. And here's the thing. If you wanted to walk into your job on a Monday happy because the Raiders won, I don't know if today's the show that you want to watch because, quite frankly, I'm going to be laying a lot of truths that are probably going to sting a little bit. Let's go to the first one here, Overreaction Monday. Antonio Pierce deserves the blame for the way that the Raiders played today. This one's for just win, babies. Believe it, baby. You could put blame on Luke Getsy. He deserves it. You could put blame on the Raiders team. Offense, defense, special teams. They deserve it. They played bad. But realistically, the blame falls on Antonio Pierce. AP said that some of his guys were making business decisions. Well, guess what, AP? I don't know if you made a business decision not having your team ready to go in this one, but we can't sit up here and say that Antonio Pierce is the right man for the job, and then the Raiders team goes out there and plays like that. Because I know this, if the head coach was John Gruden, if the head coach was Josh McDaniels, if the head coach was anybody, and I mean anybody, the blame would fall on the head coach. This was one of the most heartless, disgraceful, I'm running out of synonyms to even come up with for a description of this game. The Raiders got their ass kicked from the moment they took the field until the moment that game was over. And every single aspect of the game. You're blessing, you're thanking the football gods that you lost only 36-22 in your home opener. Raider Nation deserves better. AP, you said this, that if we show up, right, that if the nation shows up, y'all will show out. I mean, you showed me today that this looks like the worst football team in the National Football League. I mean, I just am at a loss for words. Quite frankly, if you think Raider Nation deserves better, click that like button because there's not a more real thing that I'm going to say in today's show than Raider Nation deserves better. Let's go to the next thing. Is it time to fire Luke Getsy? For just win, babies. Believe it, baby. I'm not going to say that it's time to move on from Antonio Pierce. That is an overreaction. But it's time to move on from Luke Getsy. You saw how bad he was in Chicago. He's bad yet again. I mean, this looks like an offense ran by McDaniels, Mick Lombardi, Bo Hardegree. It's unbelievably bad. We're living in a high school offense. We're talking about somebody who's just running the football just to run the football. And I know when you hire a defensive-minded coach like Antonio Pierce, you're expecting your offensive guy to do a better job. AP deserves some blame, too, though, how bad this offense is playing. I tweeted out at Mitchell Renz 365, if Luke Getsy is still the one calling plays come week 4, Raiders don't care about winning football games. Because Getsy has shown you nothing, and I mean nothing, that inspires even a little bit of confidence. And I know that you're looking at these numbers right now. These numbers are just so horrifically skewed where the Raiders were way worse than this. They are so much worse on offense than what those numbers show. And when you think about how bad the Raiders offense has been for this season, they've been good one quarter. They have been good one quarter against the Baltimore Ravens in the fourth quarter. Outside of that, this is the worst offense in the National Football League. I mean, there's nothing that you can sit here and say, oh, well, this and that. The offensive line is bad. The coaching decisions are bad. Why bench Dylan Parham? He's been your best offensive lineman the entire year. You said that you were going to start JPJ. You didn't start JPJ. I mean, I got major trust issues from the top to down. It starts with AP, no doubt about it. But if there's one thing that I've seen enough of this season and then the year before that in 2023, the year in 2022, Luke Getsy can't call plays, and I don't know what else I got to say, but I am going to make a video this week of Luke Getsy replacements because if the Raiders decide to keep on trotting out Luke Getsy, then I don't know if anybody that makes any business decisions for the Raiders deserves their job, unless you just don't care. If you want to help us get to 176,000 subscribers, believe it or not, I want y'all to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to need you this week. And if you're a Raider fan that sat at home on Sunday night pissed off, if you're a Raider fan that walked into work on Monday pissed off because this team lost, I'm going to need you. Y'all are going to need me too. We're going to need each other to be able to bring it up because I don't know if the Raiders are going to be a team that's good enough or if it's even a team that wants to try to be good. I need y'all. Hit that subscribe button. Let's go to the next one here. Is it time to bench Gardner Minshew? This is a really, really important topic, but you know what? I'm going to give you my answer to this one after I tell you about our sponsor because Game Time, if it wasn't for them, y'all would have had to pay to watch this video. Game Time, make sure that Raider Nation watch videos for free here on this channel. And if anybody wants to plan on going to a Raiders game, well, you might as well get some cheap tickets while you go because they're not worth going to see anything. Maybe you go out to Las Vegas, you want to see a comedy event. Well, the Raiders right now might be the best comedy show in Las Vegas. Maybe you want to go watch a theater event, something that's going to bring a smile to your face, or hopefully saving a little bit of money. So download Game Time today. Create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code ChatSports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. I personally love the Game Time picks. These help you find the best seats in the house, no matter what event you're going to. If you're a Raiders fan and you need a smile on your face, well, then guess what? You might as well also get a smile on your face, saving a little bit of money. Is it time to bench Gardner Minshew? This is an overreaction. And I'm not saying that you can't entertain the idea of moving forward with Aidan, but anybody that sits up here and says Gardner Minshew has to be benched after that game, shut the f up. Like, real talk. Like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Was Gardner bad today? Yeah, he didn't have a lot of confidence. But this is what Davante Adams said, right? It's tough for me to identify. I'm not sure based on the overall identity of this team. Davante doesn't know the identity. The Raiders don't know their identity. And whether it's Aidan O'Connell, if Patrick Mahomes started for the Raiders today, they're not winning this football game. This offensive line sucks. The offensive play calling sucks. The play design sucks. It's not just on Gardner. And, like, does Gardner need to step it up? Yes, he does. The only reason why I would sit up here and go, maybe the Raiders should consider moving on from Gardner is because if the Carolina Panthers play the way that they did, benching their QB, and then Andy Dalton goes out there and looks the way that he did, I mean, if changing a quarterback makes that big of a difference, then I think every single NFL team should consider benching a guy and putting in somebody else. Like, the loss is not on Gardner. Now, did Aidan go out there and he did a little bit better? If you look at the box score, yes. But if you watch the game, I mean, before the touchdown pass, Aidan threw a ball right through a defender's hands, went right through it. I don't trust Aidan behind this Raiders offensive line. I don't trust any quarterback behind this Raiders offensive line. So before anybody sits up here and says it's time to bench Gardner Minshew for Aidan O'Connell, I don't know if that makes you better. I don't know if it makes you worse. My point is Aidan O'Connell doesn't win this game for the Raiders, and if you're going to sit up here and say that he does, then shame on you. Shame on you. But I will ask this question because of how bad of a performance it was. And, you know, Antonio Pierce said guys are out there making business decisions, and they're going to make some business decisions. It sounds like there's going to be a crazy week here amongst the Raiders sport. I'm still going to say that it's start Gardner Minshew way. The only way that I'm not starting Gardner Minshew is if Luke Getsy goes, I have no confidence in Minshew, I want Aidan O'Connell. If this Raiders team goes, we want Aidan O'Connell, we don't believe in Gardner Minshew, and that's why these play calls have been bad as what they have. But it's not fair to blame Gardner because he was a problem. He's not even in the top 5 reasons of why the Raiders lost this game. Let's go to the next one here. The Raiders' offensive line is a disgrace. This might be the worst offensive line I've seen the Raiders have in a long time. I don't know how you can preach winning in the trenches. I don't know how you can have the offseason that the Raiders thought they were going to have, and yet this is the product that's out there on the field. Antonio Pierce said this week that Jackson Powers-Johnson was going to start. I don't know if just AP all of a sudden is just not a man of his word, but quite frankly, that's what I'm starting to wonder here a little bit. JPJ did end up going in the game. It was for Dylan Parham. Now, Chugs brought up an interesting point where maybe Parham was out there making business decisions, not trying to play, and then they decided to put in JPJ. But, like, I don't know how you could be a coach. I don't know how you could be a talent evaluator and decide to put Dylan Parham on the bench when Andre James has been the worst center in football, when Cody Whitehair has been an absolutely shit show at left guard. I know that DJ Glaze got into a situation here. We'll try to do our best, give you an update on Thayer Munford. I'll try to do my best, give you an update on Marcus Epps. I'll try to do my best to give you an update on Maxx Crosby. But the Maxx Crosby injury is scaring the hell out of me. Crosby said he's got a high ankle sprain. And if Max has a high ankle sprain and he's got to miss several weeks, well, this defense that was supposed to be very good now looks like an absolute shit show. I'm more concerned about the way that the Raiders defense played today than the way that the Raiders offense played today, because you gave up 36 points to a team that looked like the worst offense in the National Football League, and yet we were supposed to have a great defense, and yet the defense just didn't show up. Again, to me, you want to blame anybody, you blame Antonio Pierce way more than you blame anybody else that was rocking a Raiders jersey today. Is Maxx Crosby injured? Yep, I got ahead of myself. This one's for Just Win Babies, believe it, baby. Mad Max said he's got a high ankle sprain. He was dealing with a knee injury. The amount of snaps that Max missed today is all the evidence that I need to know that he's just not 100% healthy. I don't know what exactly is going to happen here, but if it is a true high ankle sprain, he's going to miss some time. Like, you don't play on a high ankle sprain. And if Max is going to go out there and do what he did today, and I hate saying that because for a player who had the knee injury that Max had, if he's out there playing on a high ankle sprain on top of the knee injury, that just tells me that Max wants it more. But, like, here's the thing. He was not 100% healthy. He wasn't even close to being healthy. And if you watch that game, you'll know that he wasn't healthy. And if I'm the Raiders and I go, well, if I'm not going to try to win football games, again, if Luke Getsy's out there calling plays, I don't want to see Maxx Crosby out there on the field, because if AP's not going to try to win games, I don't need them to try to injure the best player that we have in our franchise face. That don't do it. But this was a tough game to watch from top to bottom, man. Max is injured. Marcus Epps is injured. Thayer Munford's injured. I don't know what the future holds for the Raiders, but I do know this. I got to try to figure out a better way to rally the Raiders, because they were as flat-footed as you could possibly have seen out there. I got one more Overreaction Monday coming up here, but a reminder, if you need to be able to hit me up on social media, I'm at Mitchell Renz 365, and I promise you I'm going to be active on social media this week. Before we get into the final Overreaction, I do got to give a shout-out to our Week 3 MVP, Venthrak. Also, Justin Avgin, he just texted me and said, Mitch, I'm not giving up on the Raiders. I'm not going to give up on the Raiders. I know that y'all aren't going to give up on the Raiders. But my question is, are the Raiders about to give up on the Raiders? Venthrak, real talk. Thanks for being a real one. You're the MVP. I'm going to be rocking your jersey next week when the Raiders take on the Cleveland Browns. And hopefully the Raiders show up that game. Let's go to the final one here. Are the Raiders the worst team in the NFL? The way that I feel right now, this is for Just Win Babies. It's not an overreaction. When you play the way that the Raiders did today, they are the worst team in the National Football League. If the Raiders play the way that they did today, guess what? You're going to have the number 1 overall pick. You better start scouting reporting on Cam Ward. You better start doing some scouting reporting on some quarterbacks out there, because if the Raiders play the way that they did today, offense, defense, special teams, you missed the field goal attempt. Your defense gave up 36 to Andy frickin' Dalton. Your offense couldn't move the football. I know it says 22 points, but, I mean, most of those points are garbage points anyway. Your starting offense really only put up 7. This is just... I'm heartbroken, and I don't know how else to put it besides that. Besides, I am absolutely, positively heartbroken. You have a week to be able to regroup, because this past week, I don't know if you didn't practice. I don't know if you weren't prepared. The options are either you have the worst team in the NFL or you are the worst coach team in the NFL. I just hope that it's not both. The Raiders, though, I'm upset. I'm disappointed. They played like the worst team in the NFL. And if you don't think that they played like the worst team in the NFL, then I don't know if you've watched a lot of football, man. So one more time, Overreaction Monday. AP deserves the most blame. He's the head coach. He deserves the most blame. That's just believe it, baby. Time to fire Luke Getsy. It is. You got to find somebody else. If Luke Getsy goes out there and calls plays again, then quite frankly, then the Raiders need to start thinking about making a business decision about AP, because I don't know if he's the right man for the job if Luke Getsy goes out there and calls plays again. Is it time to bench Minshew? It's an overreaction, but you can at least have the conversation in there with Aidan. And if Aidan gives you that much better of a shot to win, then you better figure out your offensive line, because your O-line is a disgrace. Maxx Crosby's injured, and right now the Silver and Black look like the worst team in the NFL. I got to get the hell out of here. I cannot deal with this shit show anymore of a team. I expect better. I want better. Raider Nation deserves better. And if you agree with that, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Raiders Report. It's going to be a wild week here. That I can guarantee.